Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do kind of a follow-up video to a video that I posted last week about spinnerbait color that was pretty popular, and I had a couple questions about whether or not I use a trailer on my spinnerbaits from my buddy Will Perryman and also Matt R. So thanks for the questions, guys. I'm going to tackle that question right now. In general, you know, there's times where I'm going to be using a trailer with a spinnerbait and times that I steer away from a trailer with a spinnerbait. And so let's kind of break down those situations where first off, I don't like to throw a trailer or some type of soft plastic on the back of my spinnerbait. So, for instance, when I'm fishing a spinnerbait, you know, pretty quickly, and I'm using it as a shallow water, just moving bait to cover water. Usually, the way I'm going to set up my spinnerbait is I might trim the skirt just a little bit, and I'm going to put on a trailer hook system like the Hayabusa 929. That by far is my favorite, spinnerbait trailer hook system. So you got to check that out. I will put a link below. But I'm generally just going to fish it with the skirt, maybe modify the skirt a little bit, and then a trailer hook system. Okay, and the reason for that is for a couple reasons. You know, it may seem odd that I don't use a trailer all the time, because with like chatterbaits, I'm always using a Laz-Tech trailer or some type of soft plastic trailer on those style of baits. I think that it fills out the overall profile of it. I think it just looks better, and I think you just catch way more fish than you would without a trailer on those chatterbaits. But spinnerbaits are a little bit different. One of the things that keeps me from using a trailer all the time on a spinnerbait is the fact that spinnerbaits, it's very important for them to track straight. So make sure that as you're reeling it in, that the head of the bait and the hook are directly below the top arm where the blades are. Okay, but a lot of spinnerbaits, if you put something that's bulky that adds a lot of drag to it, it'll want to roll on its side as you're quickly bringing it in, and that's not a good thing. You want that spinnerbait to track true with that head below the blades. So that's one reason why I don't like to use trailers for a lot of the spinnerbaits that I'm maybe fishing a little bit faster, shallower, and just trying to cover water with. Another thing, and we've already talked about using a trailer hook system, is that when you're using a trailer like this right here, okay, sometimes when you're using a trailer hook, it is almost impossible to keep the tail of that trailer plastic out of that trailer hook, and so for me, it's just more hassle than it's worth. And honestly, I think that spinnerbaits work very well, extremely well, with just the skirt in general. All right, so those are some of the reasons why I don't use trailers all the time. But there is a very specific time and a situation where I do like to throw a trailer on the back of my spinnerbait, and that is in a situation where I'm slow rolling a spinnerbait. Okay, so during the colder months, or maybe it's in deeper water, trying to get this bait down to maximum depth, like really deep, bringing it through brush piles and things like that. Those are the type of situations where I don't need to worry about this bait, you know, rolling on its side. I'm not reeling the bait fast enough for it to roll on its side, and I'm also not as worried about a bass missing it, because if I'm slow rolling it and they hit it, generally they're going to get the main hook anyway, so you don't really need the trailer hook near as much. And so when I'm slow rolling a spinnerbait, like I was, you know, my rookie season on Grand Lake, I finished third in that event, and throwing a spinnerbait with a trailer was really important. You know, just really slow rolling that thing, and that trailer trailer, you know, having that swim bait on the back just slowly, you know, make that swimming action, I think gets extra bites. So definitely when I'm slow rolling, I like to throw a trailer on there. So I'm gonna go through a couple of my favorite trailers for spinnerbaits. The first one is a pretty obvious one. It's gonna be like a Z-Man minnows here, little swim bait, boot style swim bait. Okay, let's see if we can focus in there. All right, so that right there has, you know, it's not a giant swim bait, it's pretty small, it's got a lot of action, and it's not like too bulky. Sometimes if it's a bigger spinnerbait, I might go to a diesel minnows, which is just a slight bit longer than this, and it's actually narrower than this bait right here, the diesel minnows versus the minnows. So both the diesel minnows and the minnows I like to use a lot. But probably one of my favorite trailers for spinnerbait is this boot style swim bait tail right here. Okay, this right here is called a swimmin' trout trick. The swimmin' trout trick right there, there's it by itself. There we go. Swimmin' trout trick is actually designed as a saltwater bait for sea trout, speckled trout, and Z-Man, you know, makes this bait. And again, not a lot of freshwater anglers actually throw this bait, but it is actually my favorite for fishing on a spinnerbait because it's got a very small body. It's not adding a ton of bulk to the actual bait, which is going to take, you know, add too much drag and buoyancy to a spinnerbait, and it's got a perfect little tail that has a nice subtle you know, a shimmy to it on the back. So to me, that's what you want from one of these trailers is, you know, a chatterbait, you can use something that's a little bit more, you know, bold and it has a lot of action to it, maybe a little bit more buoyancy. Spinnerbait, you want something that doesn't really add a ton of bulk to it, and it doesn't add a ton of action to it. You just want something that maybe complements the spinnerbait, not detracts from the overall you know, package. But this swimmin' trout trick is by far my favorite for throwing on spinnerbaits because of those two reasons. Narrow body, not a lot of meat to it, and a perfect little active tail on it. So those are my two favorite trailers that I put on my spinnerbaits. But anyways, guys, thank you guys for watching. If you have any more questions about spinnerbaits or any of these trailers that I mentioned today, make sure you drop a comment below, and also check out 44tackle.com. I'm going to drop some links in the description, and if you use those links to buy any products, you'll be able to get 10% off of your order. So thank you guys for watching. I'm going to see you out on the water. Make sure you like, share, subscribe.